a universal measuring. So their definition can still be wrong at this point, because you can go probably another country and still won't be the same, which again I'm saying justice is not more important. Another thing I would like to talk about is we didn't say that forgiveness is just saying out loud, I forgive you. Forgiveness is engaging. That was our main point. Forgiveness is me talking to the perpetrators. Forgiveness is the perpetrator getting to admit what they've said, which goes back to the second point, what I was supposed to elaborate on. Forgiveness is not only about the victim forgiving the perpetrator. Forgiveness is also about the perpetrator getting to forgive themselves, because forgiving themselves to a perpetrator is admitting that what they've done is wrong, which has proven to be good. In Sierra Leone, there was a civil war. And for that civil war to stop, there was a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. That Truth and Reconciliation Commission included forgiveness. And the reason why that Truth and Reconciliation Commission worked is because perpetrators forgave themselves and admitted that what they've done is wrong. Now, Sierra Leone is one of the safest countries in Africa, and Sierra Leone is one of the most developing countries in Africa. Now, on how forgiveness is the essence of a community and bringing unity, I would like to again talk about Germany. Germany, after the Holocaust, the Jews were supposed to go live outside the country. Now, because of that, there wasn't forgiveness. After that, you're saying that justice is the one supposed to bring better. But after that, Jews that flew to other countries were killed in other countries. Jews that flew to other countries came from 200,000 people to 50,000 people to 6,000 people, because there was no forgiveness, because there was no engaging with other people. And that's why I'm here standing telling you that at the end of the day, forgiveness is more important, because it brings engagement and leads to more fulfillment. Thank you.
Good evening. I want to thank you guys all for being here. I want to thank the Rwandan team for being here with us and giving us company and giving us good clash today. But we have a case to get to. I would like to start off with a personal quote of my own that I came up with that kind of etched off of a colorful poem from my coach earlier. But you give an oppressor an inch, he'll take a yard. You give him a yard, he'll kill you, and because your grass is greener than what his is supposed to be. What this means is that if you keep on giving people giving people room to be able to keep on oppressing you, to keep on doing you wrong, to keep on doing you dirty, as we gave in the examples of 1864 to 1964, a long 100 years where I bet forgiveness was in everywhere you could. You saw blacks in the South by mass joining the Christianity toll of finding religion, trying to find a way to just every single day physically be able to forgive the oppressor. But what they found out is that they couldn't forgive somebody who they weren't justifiably able to forgive. There was no justifiable liberties and civil equities that let them be able to do this, because, you see, they were drinking at another water fountain than that man was. So how could you go to that water fountain with him and have empathy and compassion with him when he was still oppressing you every single day? You had no availability or no legislation opportunity to be able to forgive in that nationship right there. They talk about that the perpetrators have to also give us forgiveness, and that they forgive themselves. Well, I'm pretty sure if you're the person that's doing somebody wrong, it's easy to forgive yourself, because you can still go to bed at night knowing that they will not come and challenge you for representation. They will not take action towards you for representation, because indeed you are forgiven by them. So because they are not coming to you by justifiable means to come and hold them accountable for the vengeful acts that they did to you as the oppressor, they allow themselves to be the elites in this unjust government for years and years to come, because your forgiveness has aided them the availability to be able to do what they are doing continuously. Now, moving on to my 10 to 11 voters I have, is that they speak of the engagement in the government, number one. The engagement of the government, like I said earlier, revolves the justice system to recognize them in an equitable state and civil liberties to do that in the beginning. There was no no meaning of blacks and whites to be able to engage for 100 years almost. There was not the equitability for the blacks to be able to vote for these legislative justices that they needed for that 100 years because they were not able to by any type of law, by any type of representation. And due to that forgiveness, there was no representation. There was no action. And because of that, they were able to justifiably do everything until one day, Mamie Till Bradley said, enough is enough. I can forgive, but I cannot forget and let this go on another day. I cannot let the unborn son of my son be able to deal with this. I cannot let the children of these other mothers here in this viewing of this funeral crying with me have to do this again another day with no justice in the back of their mind. It is the accountability of the forgiveness that allows us to go on and say, how can we be together if we can't even legally be together? If there is no documentation, no legislation that approves for us to be together. We go back into John Rawls' definition that each person in this justice system has the same indefeasible claim to a fully adequate scheme of equal basic liberties. Now, if forgiveness is given in the aftermath of genocide where you were the oppressed, then you have no way to give those civil liberties because they're not given to you. So how can you even be able to forgive? As we said in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you need safety and security first before you can go to the top step of the pyramid of self-actualization. If you have no safety and security ensured by your justice system within your state, nation, and country, then you cannot progress to the next level. And because of that lack of progression to the next level, we see the reoccurrence of these genocides happening due to the unjust system and fitting that has happened to reoccur to this. What tells us that these things are wrong? As I said earlier, if all men were angels, we wouldn't need laws. If all men were angels, Pharaoh wouldn't have came back towards those Egyptians whenever they left Israel. But it was the Sikh that after they left Egypt, from the land of the blood and tears, that when they walked into the land of the milk and honey, they had to stand and make a constitution, things called 10 Commandments. Things called 10 Commandments because they knew that there was something higher than them that came in human nature that was bigger than them, that they could not control. So they had to give this justice to a supreme being. At the end of the day, we see that forgiveness is still looking for vengeful actions in the act of a beholder of the supreme being, whether it is a judicator of a government, whether it is the president of a government, whether it is the oppressor themselves, whatever is the supreme being that gives us the validation. And so we see that the importance of seeking justice comes into an important aftermath due to our future generations not having to forgive the sins of the past. 2, the nightmare of genocide is indescribable. It's the worst your imagination made to reality. We know that. But my key process is prosecuting and holding accountable the unjust elite who sat in power through the court of law, through communication, through remembrance, through learning, through any means that applies document and safe, securable justice that ensures the self-actualization of tomorrow for our future generations. Number 4, without justice, peace is meaningless and forgiveness becomes an everyday obstacle that without safety and security is inherently impossible. To ask our children to forgive consequences moving from us to them is not universal. There is no universal standard to forgiveness. There is no how-to guide to forgive. Everybody forgives differently. And when you forgive differently, you don't have the community that you speak of. There is just an interpersonal forgiveness that comes within themselves. The community healing comes from the legislation that protects them to not be able to be wronged again in the future. And number 5, just like there are diverse occasions that create genocide, forgiveness has no universal standard to be understood and practiced. People find their way to cope and forgive because that is what forgiveness is. Reconciliation leading to self-actualization of forgiveness. Forgiveness secures the future of the person while justice molds the future of the nation and community self. If you don't stand permanently to combat genocide, you will keep losing this battle the rest of your life. Quoted by Yuk Chang in the aftermath of the Cambodian genocide that happened from 1974 to 1979. There were scars on people that they could not get away. And there's scars on people in genocides in Rwanda and other countries that they cannot get away. But it is the insurity and the safety and security that tomorrow those children will not bear those same scars. It is because the justice system provides them and allows that because they have broken down the unjust system and created the new justice system of tomorrow so that they can be able to walk in that land of milk and honey. There's 6. Government who partake in genocides are, yes, unjust. You need a standard of justice in order to understand how to forgive. No sense of order equals transgression, and without transgression, there's no forgiveness. Number 8, when the group who committed this crime has no power to do it again, or you are justifiably given power to play checks and balances on them, then there will be no reoccurrence of genocide. Number 9, safety and security breeds just an essential part of forgiveness and the reconciliation process. Justice aids and provides this safety and security and provides grounding and a standard that leads to not have to generationally forgive me one generation after another. Forgiveness allows trust to be broken spoken later to know justice, to ensure and uplift the community, to not be crossed, and broken promises are met with equitable consequences to restore order rather than allow trust and benefits being broken by forgiveness. So how many inches are you going to give somebody before they take a yard and burn you on it? And then they oppress you because your grass is greener than theirs. How much are you going to give them before you start to put your foot down? Just like Mamie Till Bradley, just like the mother of Trayvon Martin, and say the sins of yesterday will not be the same sins of tomorrow. They will be accountably and justifiably recognized so that they will not be met again. And finally, justice provides documentation, representation, protection, and security to be able to graduate and walk among a new tier. Pharaoh forgives and allows the Jews to leave after resulting in broken trust. And we saw war at Red Sea. As I told you later, it recapped into the independence of them themselves, the 10 Commandments, because they knew that humans themselves were not angels. Humans themselves needed laws. Humans themselves needed documentation. They needed checks and balances, a restorative order to make sure that things tomorrow don't happen the same way that they did today. And the only way that the negative today of Davis and Elkins feasibly sees this is through the acts of justice. And we urge you, audience, for a negative ballot. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Thanks to our colleagues. Thanks to the coaches. Thanks to all of you for coming. We appreciate it. Have a good and safe evening. Thank you all.
Oh my goodness. I got you. I'll let you know. I'll let you know. We'll let you know.
Right at 8 o'clock sharp, just like on the class. Hey, I'm alive. Say how you feeling?
I can walk. It's sharp. My mission.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, just come by my office if you're on campus.
I can put you on the road.
Thank you.
303. 303 on call. There's a 11 o'clock.
My first one, I was nervous for the first one. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, for my first one, I was pretty nervous, but not gonna lie. Appreciate it. Yeah, so second semester is when I'll like really get into it. Yeah, I got to stay. Now that we just got that first night, I got to stay.
Well, I'm proud. That's good.
Really good.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, that was interesting.
I liked your side.
Yeah.
That was my opinion.
Yeah, it could have kept going and going and going, you know.
Yeah.
It's so fun. You can make me speak differently.
Get out of here. Oh my God. I said that to her when I was little.
You did good. You did good.
Thank you. But thank y'all for coming.
How do you think you guys did?
I think we did pretty good. I feel like it could have kept going like forever, honestly. Like, if we really would have just sat there and like debated on it, it could have kept going and going and going, honestly.
Yeah, I don't think there was like.
I don't think there was much they could have said.
Yeah, but you know, like I said, it goes back to, you know, we're all human here.
Yeah,
and
it
when
could have
you're
went.
human,
No, I liked your argument.
you can't say that you're not thinking. That's you know, when you're being human. Like, come on now. Like,
I can say I'm sorry, but it doesn't mean I'm not going to do it again.
and that's why I brought up the point about wholeheartedly forgiving.
When Dad brought up like at the end, like the 10
Nice
Commandments,
job,
like,
Calvin.
people need order. Like it's from the beginning of time.
Oh my God.
People have created order. Like that's a big thing.
Yeah, you can. Y'all can.
Even if I suck.
That's the culture again? Yeah, this was my first one. What's up? Appreciate it. Thank you for coming. Oh, yeah. Yeah,